there, Grateful Gang. It's Lauren Blanchard-Zaleski here with Gratefully Living the Chronic Life, episode 35, which I'm super excited about. Tonight I'm on my own, nobody to interview, but we've got a great topic. It's about learning to trust ourselves and trust our intuition, which I know I have lots and lots of problems with. So I really want to discuss with all of you and toss around ideas. If you haven't been to our show before, we're very much interactive in a town hall atmosphere. So put a comment in. I try to get all the comments up on screen. We've got a few already. Let's see. Heidi's here. Hi, Heidi. Brenda's here. Why aren't they so small? Hi, everyone. If you haven't been to my show before, you'll also know that technological difficulties happen every single show. I'd like to say it's part of my shtick, but it's not. I don't know why the bubbles. What if I do this? Is it bigger? What if I do this? That's bigger. Okay, forget the bubbles. So hi, Brenda. Hi, Heidi. Hi, everybody who's joining us. Jill Cook's here. You're a badass. Speaking of badass, and I know this is why she's bringing it up. Oh, my mom's here. And Arlene. Arlene's here. Hello, my friend. Hello. Oops. Hi, Mom. I'm Betty. Linda Edwards. Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. My shirt. So if you have never watched before, usually each week I wear a different shirt. They're not so different anymore because I've run out of new shirts, but usually pertaining to gratitude. But in our group, Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain, we call each other queens and kings of badassery. So found this shirt. It's based on Namaste. You know, Namaste when you're doing yoga meditation means my divine. I believe it's my divine light honors your divine light or something like that. This shirt says, "The badass woman in me honors the badass woman in you." And I'll say that for the men too. I honor the badass man in you too. So thank you everybody for tuning in today, not last night. Last week, we had a fantastic guest. Vidyamala Birch was with us, talking to us all about mindfulness and meditation and how that can help us with not just chronic pain and illness, but with all of the struggles in our lives. I got such great feedback from her interview, and she was a wonderful, very gracious guest. So thank you if you're watching Vidyamala for joining us and enlightening us with your knowledge. We've got some really great shows coming up. In 2 weeks, we'll have Dr. Evan Parks with us. He runs a Facebook group and a business called Pain Rehab Source. And he recently wrote an article about gratitude and chronic pain for Psychology Today. So, of course, my radar went up and we met, and he's going to come on February 11th. And he's got a fantastic sounding topic. It's about rethinking stress, how to bend and not break, I think he said, with stress, a different way to think about our stress, because our body responds to stress in not so good ways, as you all know. So he's going to have some ideas for us on how to maybe, rethink that. So I'm fascinated by that. The following week, what would that be? The 18th, February 18th, we're going to have Kent Bassett and Marion Cunningham, not Mrs. Cunningham from Happy Days, but a much younger Marion Cunningham. They directed and produced a film called This Might Hurt, and they're going to be joining us. It's a fascinating film. I've already screened it. So they're going to be talking about the film, and then the following Thursday, we're actually going to have a screening of the film, and then a Q&A right afterwards with the doctor who's kind of behind the program. It's very much about the mind-body connection, stress, all of that. It's really fascinating, very controversial, but he'll be around after the screening to answer questions. So that one will be at a special time. And I think I told you guys before Christmas that Dan Millman, who wrote Way of the Peaceful Warrior, he'll be joining us sometime in the spring. I don't have a date for him yet. And so I've got all sorts of feelers out for for all sorts of guests for us. So it's pretty exciting to me. Hope you guys like them too. Who else we got here? Campbell's here. By the way, the ring light isn't reflecting on your glasses today. Thank you for noticing, Campbell. Oh my gosh. I know you would not believe what I go through to try to get that to happen. Thank you for noticing. It's actually aimed kind of up at the ceiling tonight. I love you for noticing that because it's something that I don't know many people notice, but I sure do. Thanks, Oops. Jennifer Marler's here. Hi, Jennifer. Thanks for tuning in. Karen's here. Hello, I'm here. Wonderful. Sassy, classy, and a little badassy. Love it. Love the shirt. She was wonderful. I love her. Vidyamala, yes. Me too. Me too. Facebook user, if you're logging in through the group and you haven't granted StreamYard permission to use your name and picture, you'll come up as Facebook user. So all I see is Facebook user, but thank you for being here, Facebook user. If you want to log out and log back in, you can fix that if you'd like. And my dad, hello, firstborn. Hi, Dad. I honor the king badass in you, Dad. So thank you all very much for watching. Tonight I wanted to talk about how we have such trouble. I shouldn't generalize us, but in general, and a lot of times, and it may be especially women, but I'm not sure, I can be corrected on that we just have trouble trusting ourselves, trusting our intuition. And I want to know why that is. You know, I started delving into the research. I meant to write I've been working on an article, but it wasn't done in time for this. But why don't we trust ourselves? Why don't we trust our intuition? It could be a lot of different reasons, and I want to hear from you guys what you think. Before I get started with some of the stuff I found, I wanted to show you some quotes that you know me, I love my quotes. Some quotes I found about trusting yourself. So let's see if I can do this. Here we go. Let's get rid of a couple things first. Let's get rid of me and this. Okay, let's see. Let's get rid of me too. Let's just read the whole thing. Okay. There are apologies I'm still owed and apologies that will probably never come, but by far the most important apologies are the ones I owe myself for not thinking I was enough, for not thinking I was worthy, for not realizing my magic before. Jill Cook sent me that one today. And that's part of what I wanted to talk about tonight is forgiving ourselves as far as not being able to trust ourselves. We tend to not forgive ourselves for a lot of things. We'll forgive other people way quicker than we forgive ourselves. And I don't know why that is. Okay, let me see if I can move the screen here. Okay, what else we got? Forgive yourself. You always did the best you knew how to. Exactly. We did. When we always do our best, we can't second guess what we did. That's part of the 4 agreements too, to always do your best. And I'm going to be talking about that tonight as well. Trusting yourself is trusting the wisdom that created you. So if you believe in something bigger than yourself, it can be God, it can be nature, the universe, whatever created you. When you trust yourself, you're trusting whatever that is. So I love that quote. That's by Wayne Dyer. Trust yourself enough to let go, shift, and uproot. Give yourself permission to shed who you used to be. You are allowed to start over and find new ways to bloom into your best self. By Alex L. Love that. If you're going to trust one person, let it be yourself. For sure. I love this one too. Life is about trusting yourself and your feelings, not being afraid to take chances. It's about losing and finding special people and learning to value all the memories you have, good or bad. Learning from the mistakes you make and accepting that certain people in your life will change. And we will change too. We're a work in progress, right? So we will change, and that's okay. A bird sitting on a tree is never afraid of the branch breaking because its trust is on, not on the branch, but on its wings. And finally, self-trust is the first secret to success. So thank you to all of those wonderful, wonderful quotes for us. So why do you guys think we don't trust ourselves a lot? And I'm talking like in many situations, I find that I'm not trusting my intuition or myself. With our moderator team in Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain, I tell them all the time, our rules are pretty cut and dry, our guidelines, and they have to be for our group to work the way it does. Once in a while, we'll hit something that's kind of gray area. And so I always tell them, go with your heart. Your heart, if you go with your heart at that particular moment, it will never be a wrong decision. And I firmly believe that. It may be a different decision than you would make tomorrow or that you would have made yesterday. But if you make it with your heart, doing the best you can with the knowledge you have at that moment, it's not the wrong decision ever. So we shouldn't second guess ourselves. Got a couple comments here. I'm going to try to keep up with them tonight. So I know you guys, I know what you guys are talking about. Julia's here. Julia D. Julie Schmerloff. Hello, Julia. Jill, so many great resources coming up. Thank you. You're welcome. I'm excited. And I'm excited for some of the letters, the emails I've put out to people. It's a little bit nerve-wracking it's funny who I think of as celebrities nowadays. Let's put it that way. All of these wonderful self-help gurus and teachers and people. I've said this before, I'm a student of the human experience and why not only I act the way I do, but why other people act the way we do. Why did I used to be like I was 8 years ago? And what did I do to change myself to get to where I am today, which is a good place, yet still having the same illnesses I had back then? It was a lot of work. So anyway, a lot of those people are who I've been reaching out to. And I like to kind of mix it up with all, diverse areas of what it is that we like to talk about. Oh, Vicki, I missed you. Grateful for you. I'm grateful for you too, Vicki. Thanks for tuning in. Another Facebook user, amen. Jill Cook, when we know better, we do better. But boy, it sure takes me a while to get there with some issues. For sure. Sharon Bowen says, hi all. Hi, Sharon. Thanks for being here. Oops. Hi, I'm Maureen. My computer's acting a little sluggish tonight, so I don't know if I'm lagging behind at all, but on my end it's lagging, so feel free to give me a shout if I'm like frozen or something. Jill Cook says, if only, would have, should have, second guessing. I'm going to be talking about shoulding on yourself. Excellent point. Glendall says, hi, happy Thursday. Glad you could join us, Glendall. Can't wait to hear him, says Karen. Sharon Bounds, did I get there? Not sure what you're referring to, but you are here. If that helps, you are here. A Facebook user says, I think mine started in my teenage years, being told I wasn't enough, and I believed it because it was from my loved ones. That happens to a lot of us, being told that we're not good enough in so many capacities as we go through our years. Teachers, it can be family, parents, our peers, our friends, who we put so much weight in what it is they have to say. And I think as a grown-up, I've learned that you like to think that your friends, your bestest friends, have your best interest at heart. I really do. I'm a very trusting person, probably too trusting, except for myself, right? I don't trust myself, but I trust other people. But sometimes I feel like people will put you down in order to make themselves feel better. I know you guys have noticed this with various people. So it takes, taking it with a grain of salt, considering the source, and really trying to think, is this true or not? And I don't know the answer to that. That's something you have to decide for yourself. but I can see how, growing up being told that you're not good enough is certainly a reason to not trust yourself. Sherry Oliver. Hi, Sherry. Just getting started, but hopeful of finding the new me ahead. Excellent. Glad you could join us, Sherry. It's nice to meet you. Before I go any further, too, I meant to say this earlier. If you're in AOG, Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain, you'll see that one of our members passed away a few days ago, Kathy Roden, who was probably AOG's biggest cheerleader. Every time she posted something, it was always talking about, this is the greatest place. It helped me find a new life. So I put up a small obituary yesterday, and her sister logged in under her account today, and then she put in a separate obituary in our group, and it was a sudden blockage of airway is what she said. So Kathy, we were honored to know you, and you will be missed. You were loved, and thank you for all the love that you gave us. She was certainly there for me when Amy passed away last March. It was really she's a beautiful person. She'll be missed. Did I get everybody? Oh, yes, that is. I was wondering. Glad to be here. It's my first time. Is it really? Well, welcome. I hope you enjoy it. So what I do is I kind of, if it's your first time, I kind of talk through things, but I really like the town hall atmosphere. I like to hear what you guys have to say about things that I share. I don't like to talk myself for the full hour because, who am I? I'm me. I'm a very important person because I'm me. I'm not a doctor. I don't claim to know all the answers, but I sure like to learn. And I learn from you guys every single day in the group. So there's a book that probably about 2 months ago, we had Dr. Judith Orloff on the show. And she's got this great book called Thriving as an Empath. And every day she's got daily readings in it. And every day I find something of value in it. A lot of it having to do with trusting yourself. So I actually earmarked some of her readings to read through tonight as we're going through this whole issue of she talks a lot about intuition. Do you think trusting yourself and intuition are the same thing? That's a good question. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts about that. Trusting yourself. Intuition, I guess, is a feeling, right? And we don't always go with the intuition. We may have an intuition, but do something the opposite of that. And then often we'll say, I wish I went with my intuition or gut feeling. Is that the same thing? I don't know. Let me know what you guys feel. But I found this reading from April 26th. It says, it's called Don't Second Guess Yourself. Many of my patients get into trouble because they second guess themselves. They may get a clear gut feeling about, say, a potential romantic partner that communicates, this person isn't good for me. But since their friends are impressed with the person, they doubt their intuition and move forward with the relationship anyway. Ultimately, it doesn't work out, and they return to my office saying, I wish I had listened. Was just saying that. I mean, I did read this earlier, but I didn't know this is the reading I just picked. The lesson here is to trust your intuition, or at least give it a chance to unfold. As I developed my intuition, I sometimes learned the biggest and hardest lessons by ignoring its messages. Intuition is not a popularity vote or a consensus. It is simply what your inner voice is advising for you. This may not be what your ego wants to hear, nor is it always good news. However, when you stop second guessing your intuition, your decisions and life will improve. It's a great one, Judith. Thank you. Let's see. We've got Denise Gorgie's here. Hi there. You said the statement about the teenage years. Yeah. I'm sorry about that, being told that you're not good enough and all that. It's kind of difficult to undo damage that we accumulate when we're children, isn't it? Because you believe what people tell you. If your parents told you that, and I'm sorry if they did, of course you're going to believe it because that's what you were told. And so I know it's a lot of undoing it, and in attitude of gratitude with chronic pain, we talk a lot. We try to undo a lot of things that, our brain is wired for. Take gratitude, for instance, with living with chronic pain and having gratitude is not a natural knee-jerk reaction, isn't it? But gratitude, like mindfulness, is a practice. And the more we practice it, we can rewire our brain to be more grateful so that it comes more quickly to us. If you're in excruciating pain, first thing you say is not going to be, oh, I'm so grateful for this pain. But you can rewire your brain to have a more positive outlook about it. Sharon says, yes, sorry, already read that. Brenda Roy is here. I trust my intuition more than I trust others until I get to know them. Great. That's really great. I think I might be the opposite of that. I'm learning to trust my intuition more because of Dr. Judith Orloff. Yeah, I don't know why that is, but I actually wrote down some tips as to how we can learn to trust ourselves more. Let's see what Jill Cook says. If it's someone related to or close to me, I'm more likely to ignore my gut when I get the feeling the person is toxic. Toxic people can be a real problem for us, and that was one of the steps I was going to go over tonight. 2 is getting rid of the toxic people in our lives. Thanks, Jill. Arlene says, I had an experience with trust just this week. I actually listened to a doctor and followed what he suggested. I chose to trust him. This can be hard when some experiences with doctors aren't positive. But I trusted him and his suggestions, and holy doodle, the suggestions worked for me. Great story. Happy ending. Yes, with doctors, for those of us that live with chronic conditions, we've seen a lot of doctors over the years. And I think at least in the beginning for me, I trusted everything they had to say. I believed it. I trusted it. And then not everything works, and it's all trial and error. And I've realized that doctors are not my higher power. I respect what they have to say very, very much, because some of the things they've told me over the years have been true. I just try to not put so much weight into it because, as you guys probably well know, it's a crushing blow when you put so much hope into something working and it doesn't. Because we're all different. We're all very, very different. Different things work for us. We discussed this at Flush the Format yesterday. So number 1 on my list of how we can trust ourselves more is we already talked about this, go with your heart, your gut, your intuition. A lot of times your first intuition is the right one. I'm sure you guys have heard that. I've heard it a million times. When I got sober 8 years ago, I was kind of doubting everything I had to say, because what I had to say for a while up until that point did not steer me in the best of directions at all. So I didn't trust myself. And I had a wonderful sponsor, and she told me eventually, after I had been sober for a while, she said, trust your gut. It's good now. So I'll never forget that. And I do try to trust my gut more today. Intuition, maybe it is different. Do you guys think that gut and intuition are different? I'm not sure I know the answer to that, but I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about it. Spend some alone time with yourself. Now, I stole this right from Vidyamala Birch last week with mindfulness, which I have been getting so into, especially since having her on last week. In fact, I signed up for one of her online courses because I want to learn more about it. Spending time alone with myself, and I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but it can be scary because you're just sitting there alone with yourself, with your own thoughts and memories and things coming into your head. And I think we need to go through that in order to fully heal. Ignoring what's bothering us, what issues we may have at the time, just prolongs it and makes the pain even worse in the end. So I'm working on mindfulness, and you can start slow, like Vidimala said last week. Start with 5 minutes each day, and it's normal for thoughts to come into your head. Just greet the thought. Thoughts are not necessarily facts; they're just thoughts, and then send it on its way. But practicing being alone with yourself. I'm notorious for filling up my day with activities or work. I love my work very, very much. I know I love to write. So I'm kind of notorious for filling up all of my free time with that, which isn't necessarily a good thing. So that's why I'm working more on the mindfulness aspect of spending alone time with myself, getting to know what I'm feeling, getting to know me more. Got a couple comments. Let me get to those before I move on. Let's see. Jennifer Marler says, I think you can intuit when to trust yourself. Good point. Good point. It probably, I'm guessing like mindfulness, like gratitude, it probably takes practice. Don't you think? Trusting yourself and going with your intuition must take practice. Jill Cook says, it makes people nuts sometimes, but I ask tons of questions, even of medical staff, and especially if I feel I'm not getting full info or being ignored or dismissed. Same. I think that's why we get along so well. Let me read another reading from Judith's book here, because I should have marked off which topic went with what, but her reading on June 15th, the difference between intuition and fear, which I found interesting. It's important to recognize the difference between intuition and fear. Reliable intuitions convey information in a neutral, unemotional way. They feel right in your gut and are compassionate and affirming. Sometimes when you experience these intuitions, you may feel detached, as if you are in a theater watching a movie. In contrast, fears have a high emotional charge. They often convey critical messages about old psychological wounds, such as, I am not good enough. Right, Denise? You were saying that. Journaling about your top 5 fears will clarify which intuitions to be suspicious of. It's a great tip. For instance, you might have a fear of abandonment or of being unsuccessful. Another fear some of my patients struggle with is that they are too emotionally damaged to sustain healthy relationships. As I tell them, even if you've been deeply wounded, you can learn to open your heart again. True intuitions will never put you down or enforce destructive attitudes. They always support your best choices and behaviors. Fantastic advice. I love that. I had never even thought about the difference between intuition and fear before reading that, but I'm a big proponent of journaling. We have a journaling club in AOG, and that paired with gratitude and mindfulness have been really the 3 biggest things. I don't know if you want to call them treatments, but the 3 biggest changes I've made to myself over the past even year, I would say, being really diligent about it. Getting it on paper helps me so much. But I haven't done my fears, not in a while anyway, so that's a really good tip. Let's see, Denise, where'd you go? I feel like gut and intuition are the same, at least for me. Thank you. Karen says, I spend time alone with myself every day. Good. So my grandfather called that sitting in your own soup. Oh, I like that. That's cute. Yeah, I wonder if did he mean it as the way of like wallowing in your sorrows? Or like the way I'm taking it that he meant is sitting with your issues and trying to figure them out rather than running away from them. Trusting myself does take practice. Yep. Sherry Oliver, I think my intuition is one of God's ways of speaking to me. Most of the time I do trust it. Good. Arlene, when there is a situation that needs to be addressed, I often will second guess myself, but I'm learning that if my first instinct is to do something, I need to trust my gut intuition. Yes, me too. And Jill corrects me, sitting with your stuff, absolutely. Until you work out an answer or a solution. Got it. The other thing I feel strongly about is being kind to yourself, practicing self-compassion. We talk about this a lot in Attitude of Gratitude with Chronic Pain as well, that we, as a whole, I'm generalizing, but we tend to not treat ourselves as good as we would treat our best friend. Somehow we expect something different or better from ourselves than we would ask of a best friend, and that's not right. We need to be kind to ourselves, trust ourselves. We deserve it. If we can't be compassionate to ourselves and all that we've been through, and you all know, every single one of us has a story, and not an easy one. Life is really, really hard. We deserve to be compassionate to ourselves and not beat ourselves down. We wouldn't want somebody else, like our parents or our friends or family, to put us down. So, using our language, we talked about the power of our word a few weeks ago, using our language, doing affirmations, which Linda Edwards runs in our group. She actually has a separate group for doing daily affirmations. And what that is basically repeating a positive sentence affirmation each day. You can write it down in your journal, say it out loud, write it as a comment in the group. But Louise Hay, who is a very, very famous, I would say she made affirmations sort of famous. She has many books about it. Unfortunately, she passed away at least a year ago. But there are studies that talk about the power of affirmations, about repeating, I am worthy. I am good enough. I can trust my gut. I am worthy of love. Saying things like that actually makes them true in our mind. It may sound silly, but it is the absolute truth. So being kind to ourselves and practicing self-compassion is something that we work on a lot and need to continue on. These are all things, because in our group, we don't, if you're not a member of the group, we don't talk about the specifics of what it is that we have, because our natural tendency is to compare our situation to others. One way or another, it can be like, oh gosh, I'm not as bad as this person as far as pain goes, or the opposite, that person's not as bad as me. You don't want to compare, but it's a natural tendency. So we don't. We work from the place of, we assume we're all in pain, and that can be emotional, physical, or both. Now what? We work on the now what, not the problem, but living in the solution. And that's where things like gratitude, mindfulness, self-compassion, affirmations, that's where all of this stuff comes into play. The only thing we have control over, we find after years of dealing with this stuff, is our reaction to things. And that's not easy either. That takes practice as well. So that's really kind of what we work on, and where self-compassion and kindness comes in. Free yourself from toxic peeps and energy suckers. We talk about this a lot too. And it's easier said than done, because a lot of times the toxic people or the energy suckers are family members. How the heck do you get them out of your lives? You probably can't. It is for your own self-care, though. Practicing self-care is paramount to healing ourselves. We have to. Maybe you can limit your exposure to them. Maybe you can do things like affirmations over and over and over to offset the toxic things that they say. Maybe you can try to, meditate on it and look at it as what it is that they say, and look at it for what it really is. And do you really believe that? And chances are, I bet you don't believe that. So, I'm one to talk. It's hard for me to let things go in my head once I hear them, but I sure am a work in progress, and I enjoy being a work in progress. That's why I love this broadcast, our group, and just learning about myself every day. Let's go back to some more comments here. I love that you guys are commenting so much. Thank you very much. Where did I leave off? Sherry Oliver. I agree, but couldn't put it into words. Thank you, says Sharon Bowens. Awesome. Julia says, your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your inner voice. I love that. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. Steve Jobs. Julia, I can always count on you for a great quote. Always, every week you find something that I haven't come up with, which is fantastic. So thank you very much for that. We knew you meant Sherry Oliver. No problem. Arlene, some studies suggest that we're hardwired to trust others, even if it means overriding logic and our gut instincts. So learning to trust can be an ongoing lesson. For sure. And especially if we've been wronged in the past, and who hasn't been wronged in the past? You know, it's hard to trust when you've been burned before, isn't it? You know, my brain tends to go to, I shouldn't have trusted them. And that's not a healthy thing either. Maybe finding that healthy balance. And that's something that I need to work on every day. And one more from Arlene. As for energy vampires, I find limiting my exposure and being honest about it with them helps. Absolutely. Arlene is one of our moderators, and I'm going to put you on the spot, Arlene. But just this week, it's going to be one of my things coming up too. She was very clear with her language about what she needed for a couple of days as far as being a moderator. And oh my gosh, that was so, it was refreshing. And I told her she was a good example to the rest of us. You know, she needed a couple of days to gather thoughts on something. And you know, there's enough of us where absolutely. And Arlene, I thank you for that. I really, really do. I hope you don't mind me putting you on the spot like that. But that was going to be one of my things. Did I get there yet? I can skip ahead. Actually, I was going to talk about the 4 agreements, but that goes exactly with being impeccable with your word, which is one of the 4 agreements from Don Miguel, companion book. Don Miguel Ruiz, The 4 Agreements. One of the most powerful. How can I be on the air for like 36 weeks and still not know how to put a book in front of the camera? The 4 Agreements it was given to me as a gift at rehab, believe it or not. I celebrated my 40-something birthday at rehab, and my fellow cohorts in the pain program got this for me as a gift. I had never heard of it. And following these 4 agreements with almost every situation, it's a nice small little book. He is on my dream wish list of guests. So hopefully someday. But they're simple rules. And when we apply them to life, it can help us with so much. And that includes trusting ourselves. So let me go through the other ones. Always do your best. We kind of talked about that already, going with your heart, always doing your best. And your best will differ from day to day. Your best today may be different from your best tomorrow, may be different from the best you could have done yesterday. That's why we do intentions in our group every morning rather than setting goals, because our conditions, emotional, physical, they change. They're very fluid. They change. I could tell you right now, today I want to do laundry, take a shower, journal, right? Those 3 things. And then in 5 minutes, I could feel really kind of lousy. And so some of that may have to go. If I set that as a goal, I'm setting myself up for a resentment that I didn't make the goal. But if I list it as an intention, it was just an intention. And it's a great roadmap to get us through the day, to set those intentions without the pressure that we need to set the goal. That's how I feel anyway, for whatever it's worth. Number 2 in the 4 agreements, don't take anything personally. That's hard. That's really, really hard. Because a lot of times, and I think I mentioned this in the beginning of the broadcast, people will project onto you things. Maybe they're having a bad day and they need to make themselves feel better by putting you down in some way. They may not even realize it, but it makes us feel pretty lousy. So we have to look at that and try not to take anything personally, because whatever issue somebody has with us, it's really their issue. Don Miguel Ruiz talks about it in much more eloquently than I am. And it is a tough one to get around, but don't take anything personally. I already talked about this. Be impeccable with your word. Be clear and concise about what it is that you need, what it is that you want to say. Don't be wishy-washy or let anything be like, well, I guess I can, or no. You need to be clear with what you need, and you'll respect yourself more. And you'll trust yourself more when you can do that. Did I get them all? Always do your best. Don't take anything personally. Oh, I wrote don't take anything personally down twice. Always do your best. Don't take anything personally. Be impeccable with your word. Don't tell me. I always forget. There's always one I forget out of the 4. It's a good one. It's the whole reason why I wanted to put the 4 agreements in there to begin with. Be impeccable with your word. Always do your best. Don't take anything personally. I'm going to have to cheat, and it's driving me nuts. I'll go to the comments first. Maybe one of you will come up with it, so I don't have to. I hate cheating. Maybe I'll come up with it. Where did we leave off? Arlene says, it has taken me a long time to understand that what I need is and should be my priority. So letting you know I needed time to restock my soul choices, oh, I like that, is now natural for me. But you're telling me you liked that I was clear with what I needed actually makes my spirit sing. Thank you. I'm absolutely serious. It sets a good example for the group, the other moderators, all of that. We have to be clear with what we need, because I don't know about you guys, but I have a tendency to say yes, and I'm getting much, much better at setting boundaries. I really am. I had a busy week this week where the moderators, we are meeting about something, and I probably could have found time to squeeze it in, but I said I can't until Friday, tomorrow, and I stuck to that. So I'm pretty proud of myself for that. Be impeccable with your word. Always do your best. Don't take anything personally. Oh my gosh, it's killing me. Okay. Jennifer, the privilege of a lifetime is being who you are. Joseph Campbell, not who other people tell you you are. Absolutely. Vicky says, one time, get Don Miguel on your broadcast. I'm trying, trust me. Well, I shouldn't say I'm trying. I haven't written his letter yet. That's going to take a while, but he's way up there on my list. Don't make assumptions. Thank you. Don't make assumptions. I knew it was going to drive me crazy. And this is the one we were just talking about at Flush the Format yesterday. For those of you who were there, don't make assumptions, which I'm absolutely guilty over, is making assumptions. We assume, there was somebody who was talking about she wants to know how to get her family members she's finally asking for help. And she wants to know how to get her family members to kind of take her seriously and do what it is that she asks. And so we were all throwing around ideas, and that's where don't make assumptions came up, I think, for me. We need being clear and concise with what it is that we need, and not assuming that they know what we need. I believe that's how it came up, and that's a big one. I tend to make a lot of assumptions. That's a killer for me. I shouldn't, because just because it's in my head doesn't mean it's in anybody else's head. Vicky, is it to be on time? Not sure. No, it's not, but that's a good one. Thanks, Vicky. All right, let's see what else I had on this list. All right, so I already hit the 4 agreements. Kind to yourself. Freeing yourself of toxic peeps. and many of you have talked about this already, be yourself, stop trying to please others. I think as we get older, I find that I am much ongoing need to please others. Not as much, I should say. Of course, I want people to be happy. I like to see people happy. I started this group because I wanted people to not have to suffer the way that I once suffered. And I had some ideas that I wanted, to share with people. And then this magical group formed, and 6 years later, here we are, 5,500 people later. So I do like to see people happy, but I don't kill myself in trying to like morph myself to how I feel somebody else thinks I should be. Being who I am, and I'm always discovering who I am. I think Jill Cook said that, constantly evolving and discovering who I am. And I find that out actually through my mistakes, which I think might be on the list too. Is making mistakes is okay. It's human. We will all make mistakes, and I try to learn from them, and I learn more about myself through making those mistakes. In turn, I learn to trust myself more when I'm clear and concise with my words, and I learn from a mistake. Oh gosh, do I trust myself more? For sure. When you make a decision, stick with it. I've got a good one on this one. So I've been belly aching a bit about whether or not to get the COVID vaccine. In my state in New Jersey, it is now open to people with compromised immune systems. So I'm nervous. Having an autoimmune disease, and I'm not really looking for opinions on this. I've made my decision. But if anybody wants to message me privately, that's fine. But I don't want to have a debate on here. But for me, my immune system's wacky, and things happen all the time. So I'm a little bit nervous about introducing something new. But I did a pro and con list, and I decided that I felt like the pros outweighed the cons for me. This is just for me. And I think the guilt from not getting it, actually move my heater here. I think the guilt I would have from not getting it would kill me more than anything else. And I don't know what I'd be waiting for. Am I waiting for somebody to tell me they had an adverse reaction? I'm not sure. So thankfully, my sister, Kim, if you're listening and watching, she and her crew got me an appointment next week. I will be going to get it. And I'm not looking back. I made my decision. I'm sticking with it because I will make myself absolutely crazy. Now, if something comes up major that will sway my decision, that's one thing, but I am sticking with that decision, and I feel comfortable with that. And God forbid, even if I had an adverse reaction, I'm not going to go back and say I shouldn't have made that decision. I made the decision based on my heart, my gut, the information I had at the time. So when you make a decision, it's okay to stick with it. Things happen, of course, and maybe you need to change that decision, but try to stick with it and don't regret your decisions, because you make your decisions based on what you know at that time, what your intuition tells you, and what your heart tells you. Therefore, it will never be a bad decision. That's what I tell myself anyway. Stop shoulding on yourself. I've said this one before. Somebody told me this in a 12-step meeting once, and I thought it was really funny. I should be doing this. I should be able to do this. I should be, those shoulds will kill us. We can't do that as long as we're doing our best and trusting ourselves and acting with our intuition. There is no should. It is, we either do it or we don't. And going back to making that decision, sticking with it, that's where that comes in. So we shouldn't should on ourselves. I'm going to go to some more comments, but I'll leave stop shooting on yourself up because it's funny. What else have we got here? Jennifer Marlowe got in there. Don't make assumptions. Thank you, Jennifer. Sherry Oliver says, when we're not clear in expressing our needs, then they may not meet our needs and we may end up feeling like they don't care. That's an excellent point, Sherry. Excellent point. And that goes into not only, being impeccable with our word, but also, don't make assumptions, which I can't believe I forgot, but I did. Great point, Sherry. Thank you very much. What else do I have? Anything else? Oh, yeah. Forgiving yourself. This is a biggie. And this can encompass so many different things. Forgiving yourself for, oh gosh, things that you did in the past that maybe you feel it was a wrong decision. You made the best decision you could at the time. I think maybe you didn't. Maybe you feel like you didn't, but you need to forgive yourself. Much more apt to forgive other people, I am anyway, than forgiving myself. And that also goes back to self-compassion, which is, we need to have self-compassion for ourselves, you guys. If we're going to be good for anybody else, we need to treat ourselves like our own best friends. We need to fall in love with ourselves. And I tell people this in our good night post once in a while, give yourself a hug. We deserve it. We're good people. Just the fact that you're here and trying to learn how to be a better person makes you a good person. Works in progress. There's progress and never perfection. We'll never get there, but we try. We do try. So forgiving ourselves for, somebody in the group was talking the other day about, oh gosh, I didn't get to nearly what I wanted to on my to-do list. That's okay. You did what you could. That's okay. And that's okay. We need to have compassion for ourselves and forgive ourselves. And gosh, I could go on and on about forgiving ourselves. Have we done a show on that yet? We've done 35 different topics. I'm not sure if we have. We could do an entire hour just on forgiveness and forgiving ourselves. Learning from our mistakes, which I've already talked about. That, that's something they say, and I learned this in AA, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And I am a very big offender when it comes to that. I give the benefit of the doubt a lot. And maybe that's a good quality. I think it is, to a point. But when I do it over and over with the same people, I think, shame on me. My mom always says, hurt me once, shame on you, hurt me twice, shame on me, or something like that. And there's a lot of truth to that. We need to take care of ourselves and not put everybody else first before us. We tend to be, I've got more readings in here too. A lot of us tend to be empaths, which is why Dr. Judith Orloff being on the show is such a big thrill, even though my brain wasn't working that night. I don't know if I've ever said this on the air, but like we were supposed to talk for an hour, and we spoke for 20 minutes, and I don't remember the interview, which kind of breaks my heart. So I know I didn't have the best interview that I wanted to. I do know that she was spectacular, but I often have neurological issues. So that episode kind of breaks my heart, but I do know, and I've heard from many people, that she kind of made up for it. She very much made up for it. And what she had to say was super important. Here's one from June 17th, self-acceptance. One of the most liberating changes a sensitive person can make is to practice self-acceptance. This means embracing yourself as you are, including your strengths and areas which still require growth. We are all unique. There is only one of you. And you is beautiful. I added that part in. Instead of comparing yourself to others or trying to put on a false front to impress the world, take some time to relax into yourself. You don't have to pretend to be anyone else. Amen. Being comfortable in your own skin is a divine feeling. Self-acceptance doesn't mean that you become stagnant or stop evolving. You just move forward in a way that emerges from your authentic core. Spirit has given you everything you need to evolve on your journey. If you deem an aspect of yourself as less than someone else, this is a cue for you to compassionately practice self-acceptance. No one is perfect. That's what makes all of us so interesting. That's beautiful. If for those of you that have the book, and the book is called Thriving as an Empath, it's June 17th was that reading. Let me read the last one I had marked off since we're getting close to the hour and there's some more comments to get to. July 2nd, and I only got to like half of this book looking for readings for us tonight. July 2nd says, no more people pleasing. Do you always want people to be happy? Do you frequently put others' needs ahead of your own? As a sensitive person, you are a natural giver who may try to be all things for all people. But this can lead to becoming a habitual people pleaser too. It's admirable to want the best for others, but people pleasing takes your caring attitude to an extreme. This tendency may reflect low self-esteem, an aversion to conflict, or fear of rejection if you don't overgive. Perhaps growing up you associated receiving approval with people pleasing, so you tried to win love by getting into others' good graces. Also, you may feel responsible for someone's emotional or physical state. If you're a people pleaser, you can give away too much of yourself and squash your own needs and emotions. To shift out of this pattern, begin by saying no to something small. It's a great idea. Also, express your opinion about an issue. Start with a less emotionally charged one, even if it differs from that of friends or family. Asserting yourself will build self-confidence. And self-confidence builds self-trust too, by the way. You don't have to please people all the time. You deserve to be liked and respected for being your authentic self. Awesome. So true. Let's see what the last comments we've got. The hours always go so quickly. And I always love having a guest on. And I think, well, tonight is just me. It won't go as quickly, but it still does. Let's see. I don't think we've read this one yet. To be trusted is a greater compliment than being loved. Ooh, that's beautiful, Arlene. I don't know where you found that, but that's beautiful. And let me take my thingy off. There we go. That's beautiful. Thank you, Arlene. We have to give ourselves grace. Thank you, Margaret. And hi, Margaret. That's something I had wanted to write down too, is giving ourselves grace. So thank you for bringing that up. It is so true. We deserve grace and we deserve to give it to ourselves and act like we deserve and are worthy of grace, which is actually a form of gratitude, isn't it, Grace? Thank you. Karen says, forgiving myself is so hard for me, if not impossible. Well, we're gonna work on that, my friend. You keep coming and showing up at Flush the Format and doing what we do in the group, and we'll work on that. We'll all work on that together. Jennifer Morley, can you get Brene Brown on the broadcast? You're hitting like my top 5 here. She's up there. Hopefully someday. She's a dream for sure. I say that as well, Lauren. Your mom is right. As far as wrong me once, shame on me. Wrong me twice, shame on you. And Julia, I tell myself daily, I forgive myself for what I didn't know then, but know now. That's a beautiful thing to tell yourself, a beautiful affirmation. I like that a lot. Arlene, your best friend? Yes, get her. I often refer to Brene as my best friend for those of you that don't normally watch. So that's all I've got for tonight. This was a fantastic discussion, you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, staying the hour. We tend to keep the same people for an hour, and an hour is a long time for people. At this time, people that live with chronic pain and illness. So thank you for giving me your hour. And I wish you all a great week. Next week, we'll have another topic. Maybe it'll be forgiveness, or maybe we did that 3 weeks ago. For all I know, we did it 3 weeks ago. But, we have so much we can work on. When I first started the broadcast, I thought, how many topics can we possibly talk about? But it's not just, our topics every week. They don't just have to do with chronic pain and illness or gratitude. They just have to deal with learning how to progress in our, you know, in our progress of being the best humans we can be today. So there's a million different topics, and I always open people to give me ideas. Private message me if you have them. So thank you all for being here, and I love you all. Peace and love. And I've got my little closing here. Let's see, where is it? Here we go. Bye, gang. See you next week.